Hi guys, I'm Pessy. I'm a certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, and I'm all about health and wellness for the mind, body, and soul. For women who are busy and trying to find a more balanced and fulfilled life with a chaotic schedule, trying to find balance in the hustle. Today, we're going to talk about something that I wasn't sure if I wanted to make a video on this, but I think it's very educational. So I think I decided I wanted to make it. I'll explain why I wasn't sure if I wanted to make it soon, but for now, let's talk about what we're doing. Today, we are going to go over how you can be building an hourglass-shaped body in the gym and what exercises to do to achieve that hourglass illusion and body and what that means and how you can do that for yourself. So before we get into that, I'm going to talk about why I wasn't sure if I wanted to make this video. I'm very much into fitness and health in the way of moving your body for health reasons to be your best version of yourself. There's a lot of benefits to moving when it comes to your metabolism, staying fit. It's very important to take care of your body in that aspect. The entire fitness industry pushes aesthetics a lot, and obviously, like, an hourglass shaped body is very aesthetic based, and I didn't want to make the video at first because I think there's a problem when it comes to how the industry approaches fitness and what's pushed all the time. So I didn't know if I wanted to be a part of that, But at the end of the day, I have been someone myself who has had aesthetic-based goals when coming to the gym. And I know that even though it's not the ideal situation for your entire motivation to be around an aesthetic goal, if that's what helps you move and get up and go to the gym and you're not going to go unless you have some aesthetic-based goals, then I'm all for it, Different people need different types of motivations depending on where you are in your journey, and I'm not a judge to that because me, myself, has had aesthetic-based goals being like my main motivation for my fitness journey, and I recently decided to kind of like take it back because it's always been about health, but I was realizing that a lot of my motivation was coming from aesthetic-based goals, and I just didn't like that. So, that's why I was kind of like, But I just feel like this can be very educational, and if you are wondering how other people are obtaining this and how you can do this for yourself, let's just get into it. First things first, when it comes to building an hourglass body, there's some things you need to understand about yourself and your body type before you start trying to, follow any type of like someone else's recommendations, because at the end of the day, whoever does like a video on an hourglass body and just gives like generalized information or something that they did for themselves, it might not work for you because everybody has different body types, and that's definitely taken into account. Because basically building an hourglass body, the goal is to get kind of like that hourglass shape where it's like, goes from larger to smaller to larger, which accentuates the waist, which is something that a lot of people are striving for these days for whatever reason, I think a lot of people kind of view it as like the feminine goal right now to look like, and I'm not about that. I think everybody looks beautiful and every type of body looks beautiful. If you are someone who also wants to strive for that, what you have to figure out is what kind of body type you have. So there's different types of body types, like pear shape, heart shape, and you have to understand, like, do you naturally have a broader build on your shoulders already? Do you naturally have a smaller waist? Do you naturally have bigger hips or a bigger butt? Or like when you gain weight, where does it go and stuff like that, because then you can understand what exercises you need to be doing in order to grow whatever body part would help you achieve this body type. I'll just give some examples. If you are someone who has like a pear-shaped body, right, and you're like slimmer at the top and then you go out at the bottom, in order to gain that hourglass figure, you would have to gain mass in your top half of your body so that it would create that slimmer waist illusion, versus let's say if you are someone who has broader shoulders or like a broader upper body and your hips are kind of smaller or your butt's kind of smaller, then you would have to be more focused on growing the bottom half of your body to achieve that hourglass. Or if you're just overall, kind of more slim, then you'd have to work on both. If you are someone who has like a higher fat percentage, then in order to get that slim, thick look, like that hourglass figure, you would have to first lose weight and get a lower body fat percentage, and then you can go from there. So that's important to remember too, that you might need to lose a little bit of fat in order to start building this hourglass figure. It's just important to see where you're at in your journey and go accordingly. When it comes to building an hourglass, what you want to be focusing on is, depending on where your body's at, but like the generalized way is you want to focus on growing, obviously, mass around your hip area, so your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads maybe, or if it's just your glutes. For your top half of your body, it would be your back and your shoulders, kind of what you would be focusing on. So the reason you would want to build your back and your shoulder area, building your lats creates more of a Dorito type of illusion. If you have a waist like this, right, and then you grow your back, then it's going to be going like this. Instead of like this, it'll be going like this, which creates that hourglass look because it makes that illusion of having a slimmer waist. Because I'm going to tell you this, you can't really get a slimmer waist by doing any like crunches or anything, but you can create the illusion of having a slimmer waist by building your lats and your shoulders. Building mass on your shoulders creates that from the front, it's going to be more of an illusion of that your waist is going slimmer, and from the back, if you build your back, it's the same type of thing. And then if you build your glutes, that obviously is creating more mass around your hips area, and so then therefore you can have more of a hourglass on the bottom half as well. I'm just going to get into some of my recommended and favorite exercises to do to build that hourglass and get further into detail. Hello from the gym. Just doing a little dancey dance before we get into some back exercises. We're going to start with the lat cable pull down. Arms at full extension, we're grabbing the bar and pulling your elbows down until where the bar reaches around your chin area and bringing it back slowly with control, keeping your back straight and core braced, squeezing your shoulder blades in the back. We can also do a wider grip with this too. Different grips can be good for variation. Just make sure you put it back gently, which takes us into the seated cable row. Again, make sure your back is neutral and core is engaged. You're pulling your elbows, trying to keep your elbows gliding against your rib cage, squeezing your shoulder blades in the back, bringing it back slowly with control. Let's move on to our shoulders. So of course we're going to do some shoulder presses. Start with a weight that feels good. And don't be afraid to move up in weight when it comes to building muscle, because that's how we build muscle, by moving up in weight. And you're not going to get bulky unless you really try. But this is about gaining that mass in that upper body for the hourglass figure. Keeping that core engaged, you can do this standing or seated. And use your breath as a tool for these exercises. We're done with that. Let's put that weight away. We're going to move on to our lower body. We need a heavier weight because we're going to start with some sumo squats. Depending on where you're at, we can usually go a lot heavier when it comes to lower body, so don't be afraid of the weights. Getting into that sumo stance, widening the legs. Brace your core as you pick up the weight. Make sure you have a slight forward lean to target the glutes. Get as low as you can while maintaining proper form and keeping that chest up. If you're holding a heavy weight, it's important to make sure you're keeping your shoulders retracted. Moving on, we're going to grab 2 weights and move into our RDLs, Romanian deadlifts. Listen, this movement can be tricky, but it's so good for glute growth. So just work on mastering that hip hinge movement. Use that mind-muscle connection as you focus on pushing your hips back rather than sending your torso forward. And of course, maintaining a neutral spine, bracing the core, keeping the shoulders retracted. Your last few reps really should feel more difficult, and your reps should be slowing down. Ensuring that you feel it in your glutes. You can also do single leg RDLs, which are also one of my favorites. Isolation movements are great for glute growth. Putting those weights away, let's start setting up for our hip thrusts. So you just get a bench, you grab a heavy weight, you're going to set up with your shoulder blades against the bench, and we're bracing our core as we bring our hips down towards the floor and using your glutes to really bring you up. Again, mind-muscle connection is so important here. You should be feeling it in your glutes, and you can move your feet placement around to see what feels best. And we're done. Good job. We're just going to put away this weight. I swear racking the weight is always harder than doing the actual exercise, but let's pose a little. Thank you for watching. This was for educational purposes. Remember, your body is beautiful just the way it is. This is just if you want to work on something. And so just remember to live mindfully and breathe deep.